This is Distance from Center, back from a bit of a hiatus, here to talk about the last couple of pro events and happenings in the 2022 season. My name is Horton. That guy is...
I'm Trent Finlayson.
Trent, you're hanging out in Austin, aren't you? What's going on? Is the weather good?
Yes. Yeah, water is still upper 60s. Yeah, people are still skiing. It's you never know what you're going to get here in December. It can be 80 degrees or it can literally be 30, which is apparently coming next week. But nope, things are good.
You're killing me. It's cold here. All right, so I want to talk about the last half of the year. We're going to skim across some details. So starting with Mastercraft Pro, first DOTL I want to bring up, which will make more sense later, is in men's slalom. The highest score of the entire event is Dane Meckler with a 4 at 41. Just kind of reminding people, Dane's in that mix.
Yeah.
And then we get to the finals, and Fred wins the event with a 3 1/4 at 41. That's noteworthy because it's in my opinion that every time Fred turns in for the gates, there's a reasonable chance there's going to be a crash and a quarter buoy on the 246 side. I don't know what you think of that.
No, for sure. Yeah, no, I think he doesn't have a pause button.
No.
Yeah, and it's almost like he's like this reputation is. I mean, I think he might fancy it a little bit. It's almost like there's crashes where you don't even expect them to arise.
And I haven't done the analysis, but I deeply suspect that he has more legitimate quarter buoy scores in the book than any other elite skier.
Yes. But then there always gets to be this thing where people are like, that had to have been a half, I think when you're watching this stuff, though, the thing you have to remember is just because you have the handle, that's not enough. It's handle and skiing position. Right. So yes, he never lets go, but that doesn't mean he's in skiing position. I don't mean him specifically, but there has been a few instances this year where people were arguing for a half buoy because they had the handle so far down course at 41, but they were sliding on their back. That's not skiing position. Unless you return to skiing position. JT John Travers at the Worlds last year.
Right.
Anyway.
So also at Mastercraft Pro, another highlight, which I'm sure you have something to say about, is Taryn Grant jumped 176 for her first ever pro title.
Yes, and that was just. I mean, that was of the. I mean, large handful of goosebump moments this year. That one was it for me. I've known her since she was tiny little girl in Winnipeg, pigtails, adorable, and I mean just to watch. I mean, her jumping all year has been really, really impressive, though. I mean, 170 something right out of the box at multiple tournaments. She's found a different gear, where she was plateauing at 170. Now she's opening with mid 170s. So that one was exciting to watch for sure.
And then so it brings us to men's jump, which is one of my absolute highlights of the year. Again, Mastercraft Pro. It's Ryan and Fred. In the prelims, they tie at 233, which is a pretty frickin' high standard. And then we get to the finals, and Fred jumps 231 and comes back in and looks at whoever's interviewing him for the Large Ski Broadcast Company and says, I left something on the table. It's, that 231 isn't enough. And I'm thinking, oh, Fred's so humble, whatever. And then Ryan goes out and jumps 240. And as far as I can figure, there's been less than 2240s ever in history of the sport, and it's Ryan's 12th biggest jump ever.
Insane.
So massive.
Yeah, and I mean, no one's gone that far in a pro event in a long time. It was cool, and it was. You're right though. It was like when Freddie went as far as he did. There's this thing where okay, like now Ryan was going to have to push, now Ryan was going to have to get in the course, and there's been times in the past where he was he'd slide out or he would he'd get in too deep, and but that one was incredible, and I mean in his post. In the first moments when he came back from the dock, I mean, it was just I can't remember verbatim, but it was along the lines of like, I love this, I love to ski, I love to jump, and he was just over the moon excited. It wasn't the the really aggressive, like hell yes, but it was more the other thing is just like I can't believe how much fun that was, and he was beside himself. It was really cool. Another goosebump moment.
Absolutely. So that brings us to Malibu. Men's slalom, Asher and Fred tie at 3:41 in the finals. Asher comes back and runs a 5:41. I'm sorry, did I say that wrong? Yeah. So there's a runoff in the finals for 3, and Asher pulls a 5 out, which it's not running 41, but that's again, anytime anybody gets 4 ball, I think people stand up and notice. Mm-hmm. And then we get to men's jump. Fred jumps 220 in the prelims. Dodd jumps 210 in the prelims. And then the final, Fred goes 219. Dodd goes 1 foot further, 220. Yeah. So that rivalry was like, I don't know how many years this rivalry's been going on, but it was at its peak this year.
Yeah. I mean, how long? I don't even know. I mean, 15 years.
At least.
Yeah.
At least. All right, so that brings us to the third event we're covering today. And this one, in my notes, I just have the word bonkers. Bonkers. And that's the Travers Grand Prix. I don't even know how to explain. But so...
history.
In men's, yeah, it really is a historical, I don't, if there's ever been another event this big. So
no.
The cut to make the finals was 3:41. Caruso, who he's been around for a long time, but I don't think he's really on people's radar. But Caruso, T-Gas, and JT all run 4:41. Fred runs 4:41. I think he got 1.5 at 43. Mm-hmm. And then in the first round, Asher runs a personal PB, a European record, and truly rarefied air of 2 at 43. Just mind blowing.
And that one was, I mean, it sounds silly, but anyone who skis, this is going to sound perfectly rational. There's a lot of different ways to get 2 buoys, So this wasn't the first time you run 2 buoys at your hardest pass, whether that's 43, 41, whether it's 39, whether it's 32, the first time you get to 2 ball, it's typically, not a lot of room. It's typically a long pull, throw the ski out last second. Will's 1 ball at 43 was the 1 ball to get to 3, and without any doubt, had he ever been there before, he would have got 3. Had he ever been, had he ever come off 1 ball like that before? If he had ever had that kind of room at the center line headed to 2, I mean, especially with what Will can do at 2 ball, it was insane. Like, go back and watch it. It was something. Yeah.
So I know you and Will go way back. Mm-hmm. How old is Will?
So if he's 40.
He's 40.
Yeah.
So he is skiing the best of his life at 40.
Yes.
And I think it's good thing
and
to watch.
By a mile, though, you know what I mean? Like, and because you look at these scores and you're like, well, he ran 41, however many years ago for the first time, but never like the way he's doing it now, and never getting as far down it with the consistency that he is now, and again, like what he did at the start of that 43 was like, that's He put himself on a line to get to world record air. So it was the best thing I saw. It was the best thing I saw all year.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so that gets us to let's just say in the second prelim, kind of blew people's minds that he went off the dock and ran like 32 and 35, and then tapped his head and went back to the dock. And yep. I think everybody understood that, but that was just him going out and being warm and seeing the lake and not wanting to burn energy. Is that your take?
For sure. And anyone that's followed his career or skied with him over the years, like, he's had a lot of different iterations of doing it his way, whether it was laying up a little bit in the prelims so as not to be last off the dock when he was a younger competitor, or this kind of stuff. He's done this in a few tournaments before where guy's smart, man. You guy's 40, so yes, he wanted to make sure he had plenty in the tank for the finals, and that was it wasn't altogether surprising.
So that we're still talking about prelims.
I know, yes.
So that gets us the finals of the Travers Pro-Am or Grand Prix, and Fred runs 41 again. So that's third time in that event. Runs 1 at 43. Asher goes out, and I apologize. I assume actually Asher went out second. I assume. I forget.
I think so.
Asher gets 1 at 41, so they tie.
43.
So they've got to go back out.
And then we get to the runoff, and I mean, so when I said it was history, yes, Fred ran 41 3 times, Will ran it twice, so they tied it 1 at 43 in the final, and then where this the event that makes this truly historical is there was a runoff where they had to go out at 41 off, which obviously has never happened. I mean, not at any tournament ever. So and then Fred, I think Fred ends up getting half buoy on his opening pass, which happened to be 41, and then Will ran 1 or 2. I can't really remember for the win, but
1.
So, but I mean,
1 because
just insane though. Just I mean the consistencies, and there's just been a lot of really, really big things happening at Travers Ski School in the last 3 years, really, and this happens with sites, and people get more comfortable with the sites, and then they start bringing in the drivers specifically that they want, and the drivers get comfortable with the site and comfortable with the skiers, and it just, big things are happening there, and and looking ahead to next summer, the World Championships are returning there again, so people are going to be very excited.
Absolutely. All right, so just putting a bow on that event, I mean, Asher won that fair and square, but you got to look at poor Fred and say he ran 41 off 3 times in one weekend. How much more can he do to get second?
Yeah, but because sometimes there's different formats, like if it's head to head, and so you can kind of go through these brackets where things don't really line up. But this was just a straight up tournament, so not and even Fred's take on this wouldn't have been poor Fred. I mean, he would have been. No. I mean, but yes, to your point, he ran 41 off in every round and lost. So I mean, holy crap, insane.
And Asher, European record, PB, and the win. So amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to our last real pro event of the season, which was the Miami Pro. And you remember when we started this show, I mentioned Meckler having the high score of the weekend.
Yeah.
We come to Miami Pro again. Meckler, 441, high score of the weekend. So in 4 events, twice, Meckler has the highest score, which I thought, it's not the most sexy stat ever, but to me, I thought that was kind of interesting. So whatever, 6 guys run 3 at 41. In the finals, there is a 4-way runoff for 3 at 41. That is Dane, Nate, Neville, and Hazelwood. So they all ski again. Then there's a 2-way runoff, which is Nate and Dane, and in the end, Nate wins by a quarter.
Yeah. No, another crazy, finish to an event. And the other thing, noteworthy for that one is just, in multiple events this year, like Steven Neville he's just so good. He's always been good. He had 2019 was a massive year for him, but in that, from there to now, he's become a part-time skier, a full-time, works in the oil and gas industry in Houston, and he just keeps showing up and getting on podiums or always making the finals and often getting on the podium. It's between that and then watching Dane take Nate to multiple runoffs to before Nate got that win was 2 more just awe-inspiring moments for the year.
Yeah, fantastic. So we've been pretty much talking about men's skiing this whole show. We really haven't talked much about the women because it's been kind of status quo. Mastercraft Pro, Regina, Malibu, Regina, Travers, Regina, Miami, Regina. So that kind of brings us to the season championship for the points in the Water Ski Pro Tour in the men. And this is a little bit confusing because of the points. It is Asher first place, Fred second place, Nate third place. Interestingly, Asher had 4 wins and 11 podiums. Fred had 2 wins and 9 podiums. Nate had 6 wins and 6 podiums. The difference is the events that Asher won had higher point values because there was more prize money, and that's how that spread happens.
Yeah. No, Will had an amazing year. You know, he went everywhere, and you know, and there's merit to that too, though. Like the points breakdown. You know, more points for the tournaments where there's greater pressure and a deeper field. So.
Right. And then with the women, first place was Jamie, second place Regina, third place Whitney. Jamie with 4 wins and 8 podiums. Regina with 6 wins and 8 podiums. Basically, Jamie went to the bigger events, and that's how she stood out ahead of Regina and Whitney.
Yeah. What else stood out for you? Just I guess for me on the women's side of things, what really stood out was obviously Regina's healthy. With that brace off, she looks insanely good. I mean, it's 2 parts, equal parts both. Her knee is healthier, so she doesn't need the brace, so she's moving better. But I just think without the brace, she's moving better. And I think the other one was some of the younger girls coming up. Paige Rini looked. She's insanely good, and she's starting to find her stride. Ali Garcia, a whole bunch of finals and making some podiums, and she actually had her first pro win this year. What else? Oh, I guess the other one that stood out for me too was Chelsea Mills took that extra step. Went from almost like maybe the feeling like, well, the field's not that deep, so she's kind of filling in the gaps to no, she's gotten very, very good in the last 2 years, and this year was a giant stride forward. I mean, she ran 39 at the end of the season.
Right. She became the 11th woman of all time to run 39 off in a tournament, which is
insane.
Pretty rarefied air. I mean, she's on a list with Christy Overton and Natalie Hamrick and Karina, and Regina for that matter.
Yeah.
So that's a highlight for me. And then that kind of brings me to my skier of the year, and we'll see what you think of this.
Huh.
It's gotta be Charlie Ross. Charlie Ross I believe he did this at Pan Am's, he did it somewhere. 4:41 for a PB.
Yeah, it wasn't not a Pan Am's, but yes.
I'm sorry. So that was his 33rd tournament lifetime, 39, and he's gotten as far as 4-ball.
Insane.
So this kid, he was born in 2005. So I think he's like 17. I don't know if he's got. I mean, it's insane. If he's getting to 4-ball. He is, to me, he's the most interesting story out there is Charlie Ross. I mean, the Fred running 41 4 times, that's significant. Asher also 4 times, Nate 10 times, but little Charlie Ross is right behind him, and
you would definitely just with the where he is in the course, it'd be. You wouldn't raise a lot of eyebrows if you predicted him to run 41 the next season or two.
No.
For me, skier of the year, Will Asher. And we've already told you all the reasons why. So.
Yes. From a statistics point of view, and maybe as a feel-good point of view, but as a surprising. I don't know. The whole Charlie Ross thing. If he's not the future, it's because something weird's going to happen.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. He's insanely good.
And there's so much speculation. You hear people talking about technique, and it's like, what's this skier doing? What's that skier doing? And I hear people talking about Charlie Ross, and they're kind of like, what? How does that work? But obviously it really does.
They're looking at the wrong things.
Of course. Oh, no doubt. I'm not,
Yeah. No, he's insanely good. It'll be fun to watch, especially next year being a world year, and he's obviously got some confidence. He's tied his dad's all-time best score in the process this summer.
Which is astounding.
Yeah.
Because, his dad stopped skiing 20-something years ago, and that was, I don't know if that was even Perfect Pass days. Was that Perfect Pass? Must have been. Yeah. All right, well, that's my year. You got anything else?
No, that was it. I just, again, Water Ski Pro Tour, what they said they were going to do, they're delivering on. This was a huge year. There was like so many more events this year, and partnered, however loosely, with Water Ski Broadcast Company. It's the sport is in a better place now than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
And what I want to say to everybody watching is, over the winter, go watch all these events on Water Ski Broadcast, but go watch that darn Travers event again, that Travers Grand Prix.
And again.
It is. It's a historic highlight for sure. All right, well, man, have a great Christmas and New Year, and we'll start getting warm, and we'll do this all over again.
Yep, same to all y'all.